We are today in our current exhibition, Aeonesis by Aaron Scheer. And Aaron, thank you very much for taking the time to do an interview about the exhibition, about the new works with us here.
Yeah, for sure.
Your background is originally painting. How did you develop your artistic practice?
Yeah, so like you said, I come from painting, like traditionally with acrylic, oil, and so on. And then early on, I started to experiment with the computer. So kind of like transition from traditional painting to painting with a computer. But then I soon realized that I didn't want to stay in the digital realm. And I was looking for, kind of like a physical body for what I've been doing with the computer. And so I started to think about how I can basically bring this into an analog space and to create kind of like a body for the works.
Yeah, so two of the works of the DANA series are part of the show right now. The show is called Aeonesis, and maybe tell us more about it.
Yeah, so Aeonesis is kind of like a word for Aeon and Genesis, and it's kind of like eternal beginning. And so the show is somehow about like the next evolution of my practice. It started out with these DANA paintings, and it's also kind of like the basis of the works that you see here behind us and that are shown also in these sketches. And that's how kind of like the title of the show came into being. And also it's the title of these works. They're called Aeonesis, and it's kind of like the first works in this new body of work.
Can you take us a little bit through the process of working with prompt engineering, which you started to do for the new series?
Yes. So as I've been saying, like the starting point was actually the DANA series, and I've been analyzing them like lingually with words, and I tried to synthesize certain words that I have been basically putting into the prompts and to find out kind of like a certain sequence or like a certain formula that I've been inserting, and that's how kind of like the sketches came into being. And it's words like smooth, organic, but then also I've been putting 2 or 3 new words into it. I didn't want to replicate these works. I want to use it as a base and then further develop them. So that's a little bit how these prompts, like the words, the sequence of the words came into being. And then the next step was to put some of these sketches that had potential, let's say, there was a certain structure or a certain movement or certain elements I liked. I've been basically reinserting them into, I work with stable diffusion, so I've been reinterpreting them with stable diffusion, and then there was a kind of a sweet spot between certain minimal things and a certain movement that was based on these works and now became something new.
So maybe a question in between, what fascinated you with the uncanny moments of the abstraction that came out or as a result from working with AI?
So I've been sketching, like, doing like all these prompts, and I had like thousands of sketches, and then at a certain point I realized certain resemblance between the sketches and between these works that were kind of like a basis. So there was a certain movement, there was a certain fluidity that you can see here as well, but then there was also more figuration in there. So it's still between figurative and abstract, these works, similar than the DANA, but I would say more multifold. So it's more extreme in a way. And certain things are crystallizing. You see maybe a leaf, or you see maybe an eye, but it's still not very clear. It's like somewhere frozen in between this like metamorphosis of organic structures. And that I found very interesting, because you saw a certain structure of these works that were similar than the DANA. There was a certain movement, there was a certain openness, but at the same time there was more organic elements. It was a little bit more concrete in a way, like a little bit more specific. So I find this very interesting that it was based on this, but it was really like an evolution in a way, also just from the motives that were coming out of it.
And the moment you were happy with the motive, you again thought about how to put it in the physical. And
Yes.
Can you describe how it felt like coming from a digital sketch and bringing it into a bronze relief?
Yeah, I mean, this was an extremely interesting process. I somehow developed the feeling that I wanted to, when I was looking at these sketches, I had the feeling I want to bring them alive. Like I want to bring them in the physical world, which I have been also, it's just part of my practice. to think about how I can display certain things or what I'm doing when I'm working digitally and then bring it into a physical space. And I had this strong urge, I can just describe it as a strong urge to basically bring this to life into like a really 3D model in a way, and to do it with my own hands. And yeah, that's what I've been doing. And yeah, and then you end up very fast into a materiality and how, which materiality are you going to do and which one are you going to choose, which technique are you going to choose, and so on. And this was just an extremely interesting process to transform these digital sketches then into physical model, and then in the final relief works. This was extremely interesting process.
Yeah, and you decided to use bronze relief, but there's also one with aquastyle.
Yes.
And it's a white one. Maybe you can also tell us what is the challenge, or what was the challenge to work with this material as well. Yeah,
I mean, the challenge, with bronze is that whenever you work with a material that is kind of like very present, you need to react to it. So in a digital space, you can really work on pixel, you can do everything pixel perfect, and it's completely different if you start to work with material like bronze or also aquastyle, because they're moving in a certain way. There are certain rules that you have to work with. There's also people that you have to work with and engage with, and so on. It's a whole process. You can't do everything by yourself. And so the materiality is not dictating, but it is influencing a lot the work as well. And you need to find something in between the original sketch, between what I've been doing with my hands, and between the material, and then it all comes together in this relief. And the bronze is especially challenging because it's such an old material, but it's a very challenging material as well. And the aquastyle is more kind of like an industrial composite. And I found it interesting to have this very traditional material, like bronze, that is also a natural and organic material, and then this industrial composite, and to juxtapose these kind of modern material with this very old material. I found this like an interesting tension between these two materials.
Yeah, thank you. How important is materiality and placing human agency in your artistic practice?
My process is a lot digitally influenced, but then it also transforms at a certain point a lot into the physical world, and then you deal with materiality. You deal with the space in which the works are going to be placed or are going to be shown, but you deal with it in the work as well. And so it's very important, and not every material works, and there's always a transformation, and there's new things coming to it, and ideally there's a certain aura that develops, and I guess that's very important. And human agency, I think it's especially with these AI-generated sketches or these works that have been first in this AI space, let's say, it's very important to think about human agency in a way that can we still take decisions. For example, when I transform this sketch into the physical model, am I gonna do everything the same? Am I gonna try to replicate it 100% like I've seen it in the sketch, or can I take other decisions? Do I have the confidence to take other decisions, or do I need to trust the AI that this is the best sketch, it's the best structure of the work, and so on? And there is a big difference between the original sketch and this work. So I have been taking a lot of decisions, and I made it my own. And I think this is also an interesting aspect of how we can make technology our own, so we can use it for ourselves.
So thank you very much, Aaron, for the insights into your work and into this new exhibition with us. And for everyone who wants to find out more, please check on our website.